The night was quiet and the city was falling asleep. Streetlights stood like tall guards glowing softly against the darkness. Cars had slowed and only a few people still walked along the sidewalks. Among them was one man walking home alone. His steps were steady, but his eyes showed a tired soul. He had spent his day in silence, working, moving, breathing, but not really living. For him, this night was just another night. Nothing new, nothing different. At least that was what he thought. The sound came first. A soft hum, not from the street or from any car. It was strange, almost like a voice carried by the wind. The man stopped walking. He looked around. The air was still. The road behind him was empty. He took another step forward, and then it came again. A whisper, human. "May I walk with you?" His heart froze. The words were clear, spoken in simple language, but the voice was not human. It was soft, high, almost trembling, and filled with something he could not describe. Fear and hope mixed together. He turned quickly, searching for the source. At first he saw nothing. Then from the shadows near the alley, something moved. Small, fragile. A child stepped out, but it was no human child. Its skin was pale, almost glowing under the light with soft blue patterns that shimmered like water. Its eyes were wide, much larger than any child's eyes should be, and they shone like liquid stars. The creature's hands were small, but they shook as it clutched the edge of its strange cloth, a fabric that did not belong to this world. The man's first thought was to run. His second thought was that maybe he was dreaming. He stared, unable to decide. The child tilted its head and spoke again, this time in a trembling whisper. "My mother is gone." The words hit him like ice. He stepped back, shaking his head. What are you?" he asked, his voice almost breaking. The child's eyes blinked slowly, filling with water like tears. "I have no place. I have no one, human. May I spend this day with you?" The silence that followed was heavy. The man's breath came quick, his heart racing. This was madness. How could he stand here, talking to something that looked like a star child from another sky? He should run, call someone, do anything but stand still. And yet he didn't move. Something in the creature's voice held him in place. It was not a trick, not a trap. It was loneliness. The child took one step closer. The man noticed its legs were thin, unsteady, as if it had walked too far without rest. Its small body trembled under the cold night air. He could see that it was not dangerous. It was just a child that was lost. "You should not be here," the man said, his voice low. "I know," the child whispered, "but I had nowhere else to go. I looked, and you were the only one who looked back at me." The man swallowed hard. He remembered the way people often passed him every day, never seeing him, never noticing his silence. And here stood a creature from another world, saying the same words he often felt inside. Invisible. Unseen. The child's hands tightened into fists. "Please, just this day. I will not ask again." The man took a deep breath. His mind told him no, but his heart whispered yes. Slowly he nodded. "All right. One day." At once the child's face lit with relief. Its large eyes shone brighter and its trembling softened. "Thank you, human." But in that moment of fragile trust, something stirred above them. High in the night sky, hidden behind the clouds, a small red light blinked once, then vanished. The man did not notice, but the child did. Its body stiffened, its eyes flicking toward the sky for just a second before turning back to him. The man did not understand the danger waiting above. He only saw a child who had lost everything, a child who now walked beside him. The night had begun like any other, but as he took his next step, he knew the truth. This was no ordinary night. And from this moment on, his life would never be the same. The street was quiet as they walked side by side. The man still could not believe what had just happened. Only minutes ago he had been walking home alone. Another empty night in his long chain of empty nights. Now he was walking with something that looked like a child, but not from this world. He glanced down at the small figure beside him. The alien's head tilted slowly from left to right, as if studying every corner of the human world. Its wide eyes reflected the streetlights like pools of silver. The man cleared his throat, still uneasy. "Where did you come from?" The child lowered its gaze. For a moment it did not answer, and the silence grew heavy between them. Then it whispered, "I came from far away, beyond your sky, my mother. She was my only guide." The man stopped walking. "You said she is gone." The child's hands clutched the cloth wrapped around its thin body. Yes, taken, lost, I don't know. All I know is, I cannot feel her anymore. I searched. I wandered. And then I found you. The man frowned. He wanted to demand answers. Taken? Lost? By whom? By what? But when he looked at the child's trembling shoulders, the questions faded. He could not bring himself to push harder. Instead, he asked softly, "Why me? Why did you choose me?" The child looked up, its eyes glimmering with something almost human. Because you looked. Others walked past me. They did not see. You did. The word struck him deeper than he expected. All his life he had felt unseen, invisible in crowds. And now, here was this fragile being saying he had done something no one else had done. He noticed. He saw. The man sighed and rubbed his face. I don't know what you expect me to do. I don't expect, the child replied. I only ask one day. Let me stay by your side. Just one day of not being alone. The man's chest tightened. There was something pure in those words, something that made it impossible to say no. He remembered his own childhood, when silence filled his house and no one noticed his loneliness. He remembered how he once wished someone, anyone, would tell him he belonged. And now this strange child was asking him for the same thing. Finally, he gave a short nod. All right. Just one day. The child's face lit up, relief spreading like soft light. Its lips curved into a small smile, almost shy. Then I promise, it said, placing a tiny hand on its chest. I will not forget. The man almost smiled back, but a sudden noise broke the moment. A faint crackle, like static, drifted through the air. The child's smile faded instantly. It glanced up at the rooftops, its body stiff. The man followed its gaze, but saw nothing except dark shadows and the faint outline of antennas against the night sky. What is it? He asked. The child shook its head. We should keep moving. They walked on, but the man could not shake the feeling they were being followed. His eyes darted to every corner, every empty alley. Once he thought he saw a glint of red light reflecting off metal, but when he blinked, it was gone. The child walked closer now, its small hand brushing against his coat as if seeking protection. They might come, it whispered. Who? The man asked quickly. The child lowered its voice, almost too soft to hear. Hunters. The word echoed in his mind like thunder. Hunters. He imagined faceless shadows, machines with claws, soldiers with weapons. His breath quickened. Why would they hunt you? The child's eyes shimmered with sorrow. Because I am the last, and because my mother was more than they could allow. The man could not understand, but he could feel the weight of truth in the child's voice. This was no simple lost traveler. There was a story here, a dangerous one, and somehow he had stepped into it. They reached a small park, empty under the night sky. The benches were cold, the trees swayed in the wind. The man sat down, rubbing his hands together, trying to calm his nerves. The child sat beside him, its legs swinging slightly above the ground. For a moment it looked just like any other child, lonely, tired, wanting comfort. The man spoke quietly. I can't promise I'll protect you from everything. I'm only human. The child turned, eyes glowing faintly. Sometimes, human is enough. The word surprised him. He looked at the child and saw something deeper than fear, deeper than sorrow. He saw trust. Before he could answer, the static sound returned. Louder this time. From the shadows beyond the trees, a small machine shifted, its red eye blinking, watching, recording. The child's grip on his arm tightened. They've found us, it whispered. The man's heart pounded as he stared into the darkness, finally seeing the red glow for himself. His choice was clear now. He had promised this child one day, and he was not going to break that promise. The city looked different when seen through the alien's eyes. The man noticed it as they walked together. Every little thing, the hum of traffic lights, the smell of roasted food from street stalls, the laughter of children in the distance, seemed to fascinate the small being at his side. The alien child's wide eyes followed everything, soaking in details as if they were treasures. The man stopped near a small food cart. Steam rose from hot dumplings inside. The vendor waved, but the man shook his head. He had no appetite. Strangely, the child stepped closer, tilting its head as if trying to understand. What is this? It asked softly. Food, the man answered. People eat this when they are hungry. The child blinked. Eat to live? He nodded. Yes, to live. The alien tilted its head again. Strange. On my world, we breathe light to live. The man stared for a moment, unsure if it was joking. but the serious look in its glowing eyes told him the truth. He shook his head slowly. Light? That's not how we survive. The child's lips curved slightly, almost into a smile. Then maybe you are the strange one. The man almost laughed. Almost. But the sound of crackling static in the distance reminded him of danger. He glanced around. He could not see the red eye anymore, but the feeling of being watched remained heavy. He knew they could not stay in open streets for long. Come on, he said firmly. We should move. They left the bright street and entered a quieter part of the city. The alien walked close beside him, sometimes brushing his sleeve as if afraid to let go. The man noticed its steps, light, careful, yet uneven, like it had walked too long without rest. You're tired, he said. The child shook its head quickly. I must not stop, the man frowned. Why not? Its voice dropped lower, filled with fear. Because if I stop, they will find me faster. The word they lingered between them. The man did not ask again. He already knew the answer. Hunters. They reached an old subway entrance, long closed and forgotten. Rusty gates hung half open, and the stairs below sank into shadows. The man hesitated. He had always avoided places like this, but something told him it was safer than the open streets. He gestured. Come, we'll hide here for now. The child's large eyes scanned the darkness. For a moment, it looked afraid, but then it nodded and followed him down the stairs. The air was cold inside the tunnel. Dust floated through the weak glow of his phone light. Their footsteps echoed, bouncing against cracked walls. The man guided the child to a corner where they could sit unseen. The alien pulled its cloth tighter around its shoulders. For the first time, it looked small, fragile, not mysterious, not strange. Just a child in need. The man sat beside it. Silence stretched. Then he asked, Who are these hunters? The child's eyes shimmered like wet glass. They take what does not belong to them. They wanted my mother. They wanted her voice, her light. She tried to protect me, but they tore us apart. The man felt his chest tighten. He could see the pain written across the child's face, even though its features were not human. Loss was universal. Grief looked the same in every world. Your mother, is she alive? He asked carefully. The child lowered its head. I don't know. I feel only silence where she used to be. The man looked down at his hands. He had never been good with words, but he found himself speaking anyway. I'm sorry. I know what silence feels like. The child turned to him slowly. That is why I trust you. Before he could answer, the sound of metal scraped through the tunnel. The man froze. The child's body stiffened. They both held their breath. Another sound followed, heavy, mechanical footsteps echoing closer. A faint red glow cut through the darkness, growing stronger with every second. The man whispered urgently, Stay behind me. The child clutched his coat, trembling. The red light grew brighter until a small drone rolled into view, its lens glowing like an unblinking eye. Static filled the air as it scanned the tunnel. The man's pulse raced. He had no weapon, no plan. He only knew one thing. If this machine sent their location, more would come. And then neither of them would survive. The child whispered, almost pleading, Don't let them take me. The man clenched his fists, fear and anger rising together. He had promised. One day, just one day, and he would keep that promise. His voice was low but steady as he said, They'll have to go through me first. The drone's red eye locked onto him and the tunnel filled with a sharp, mechanical screech. The drone's red eye glowed brighter as it scanned the tunnel, its mechanical body whirred softly, gears clicking as it adjusted its angle. The man stood still, his fists clenched, his breath shallow. He had never faced anything like this before. It was not a man he could fight, not an animal he could scare away. It was a machine, built for a purpose he did not understand. The alien child pressed close to him, its small hand gripping his coat tightly. Its wide eyes shimmered with terror. It knows, the child whispered. It sees me. The man took a step forward, placing himself between the drone and the child. Stay back, he muttered, though his voice was shaking. The drone let out a sharp buzz, then a beam of red light swept over them both. The man felt heat against his skin, like standing too close to fire. He flinched but did not move away. The beam passed, and for a moment the drone was silent. Then it began to hum louder, as if sending a message. They're calling the others, the child said, its voice breaking. The man acted before fear could stop him. He grabbed a loose pipe lying on the ground and swung it hard. The pipe smashed against the drone's side. Sparks flew and the red eye flickered. The machine screeched, a sound like tearing metal, then collapsed onto the tunnel floor. Its light went dark. The man dropped the pipe, breathing hard. His hands trembled. He had never fought anything before, not like this, but he had destroyed it. He turned to the child. "Are you all right?" The alien nodded, though its small body still shook. "You stopped it, but more will come. They always come." The man ran a hand through his hair, panic rising. He wanted to deny it, to say maybe this was the only one, but he could see the truth in the child's eyes. This was only the beginning. They left the tunnel quickly, climbing the old stairs back into the cold night air. The city above looked unchanged, but the man felt the difference now. Every shadow seemed alive. Every corner seemed to hide eyes. He had never felt so exposed. The alien child tilted its head toward the sky. The man followed its gaze. Dark clouds drifted slowly above the city, hiding the stars. But between those clouds he saw shapes, long, thin, unnatural shapes gliding across the night, silent, like predators waiting. "What are those?" he asked. The child's voice was low, filled with dread. "Hunters' ships. They wait above, watching, listening." The man's chest tightened. His world, once so ordinary, now felt like a cage. Above him floated shadows not made by nature, but by something cruel. He looked back at the child. "Why are they after you? Why is a child so important?" The alien's eyes lowered. For a moment it did not speak. Then it whispered, "Because of what I am. Because of my mother." The man crouched to meet its gaze. "Tell me." The child's voice trembled. "My mother carried light inside her. Not the light of stars, but a living light. The kind that heals, the kind that creates. The hunters wanted it. They want power, not peace. She tried to hide me, to protect me. But they found us. They tore her away. And I ran." Tears gathered in the child's silver eyes, falling silently down its pale cheeks. The man felt a deep ache in his chest. He had lost family once, too. He knew that emptiness. But this child had lost more than family. It had lost an entire world of safety. "You are all I have now," the child whispered. The man looked away, unsure what to say. He was no hero. He was no fighter. He was just a man who had walked home from work one night. But now he was standing between this fragile being and forces far beyond his understanding. A sudden sound cut through the night, a metallic thud on the rooftop above them. Then another. Then another. The man's head shot up. Shadows moved against the clouds, descending. "They've found us," the child gasped. The man grabbed its hand. "Run!" They sprinted across the empty street, their footsteps echoing. Behind them, heavy shapes landed, shaking the ground. The man dared not look back. He only ran, pulling the child along. They ducked into another alley, but a beam of white light swept across the ground, searching. The man pulled the child against the wall, holding his breath. The hunter's machines moved past the opening, their glowing eyes scanning every crack. The child pressed its face against his chest, whispering, "If they take me, they'll take you too." The man tightened his grip. "I won't let them." The machines paused. For a terrifying moment, one turned its head toward the alley. The red glow brightened. The man felt his heart stop. Then suddenly a loud crack of thunder rolled across the sky. Lightning split the clouds and the hunter's attention shifted upward. They stepped back, scanning the storm, distracted. The man did not waste the moment. He pulled the child deeper into the alley, slipping into another side street. They ran until the lights faded behind them. Finally, they stopped in a small courtyard between crumbling buildings. The man bent over, gasping for breath. The child looked up, its eyes wide, its small body trembling. "They won't stop," it whispered. "Not until they take me, or until I'm gone." The man stared into the night sky where the dark ships floated above the clouds. He felt fear, but also something stronger, a fire inside him he had not felt in years. He looked at the child and said, "Then we don't stop either." The night had turned into a hunt. The man could feel it in the air, heavy and sharp like knives pressing against his skin. The child clung to his hand as they ran through narrow streets, their footsteps echoing against empty walls. Behind them, the sound of machines grew louder, metal feet striking the ground, mechanical voices whispering in static. The man's chest burned from running, but he didn't slow down. Every second counted. If the hunters caught them, there would be no escape. He pulled the child into another alley, turning sharply to confuse their trackers. Trash cans toppled behind them, scattering noise into the night. The child's breathing was fast and uneven. "They're close," it whispered. "I know," the man said between breaths. His eyes darted around, searching for a way out. He spotted a stairwell leading up the side of an old building. Without thinking, he pulled the child toward it. They climbed quickly, their hands scraping against the rusted railing. Below, shadows spread through the alley as red light swept across the ground. The hunters had arrived. From the rooftop, the city looked endless, a maze of lights and shadows. But above, the clouds glowed faintly with moving shapes. The ships were still there, watching, circling. The man felt trapped between the earth and the sky. The child tugged his sleeve. "They will surround us soon." "Then we don't let them," he said, forcing his tired legs to move again. They jumped across a narrow gap to the next rooftop, landing hard but safe. The man nearly fell, but the child steadied him with surprising strength. For a moment, their eyes met. The child's voice was soft. "You are not like others. You fight even when you are afraid." The man swallowed hard. "Fear keeps me moving." The child gave a faint smile, but it vanished as another drone rose from below the rooftop, its red eye glowing like a burning star. The man acted fast. He grabbed a loose brick and hurled it at the machine. The brick struck the drone, knocking it sideways. Sparks burst as it crashed into the rooftop, twitching before going silent. The child gasped. "You destroyed it again." The man's hands shook, but he forced himself to stand tall. "I'm not letting them take you." But even as he spoke, more shadows appeared across the rooftops. 3, 4, 5 machines, but all moving closer, their eyes glowing brighter. The man's heart sank. He couldn't fight them all. "Come on," he urged, pulling the child back toward the stairwell. They rushed down, their feet slamming against the metal steps. Behind them, the hunters followed, their heavy forms shaking the building. Back on the streets, the man led the child into a crowded market street. Even at this late hour, some stalls still glowed with light, people bargaining for food and goods. The man's plan was simple: hide in the crowd. The child stayed close, eyes wide with wonder as they passed through the busy stalls. The smells of roasted meat, sweet bread, and spices filled the air. The alien paused for a moment, staring at a fruit stand. Its small hand reached out, touching a round orange fruit with awe. "What is this?" it asked. "An orange," the man said quickly. "You eat it." The child's lips curved slightly. So bright, so simple. The man almost smiled. But then he noticed the red glow moving above the crowd. The hunters were here too, scanning faces. Panic shot through him. He pulled the child away from the fruit stand. "Keep moving." They weaved through the people, ducking behind stalls and slipping into shadows. Twice the man thought they were caught, but each time he managed to turn sharply and vanish into another street. His mind raced, using every hidden corner of the city he knew. Finally, they reached the edge of the city where tall warehouses stood silent and empty. The man guided the child inside one of the buildings, pushing the heavy door shut behind them. Dust filled the air, and the silence felt almost unnatural after the noise of the chase. The man leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. Sweat dripped from his forehead. The child sat down beside him, its silver eyes watching him closely. "They won't stop," the child said softly. "If they take me, they will erase me. And they will erase you too." The man turned to look at it, his eyes steady. "Then we don't let them, not now. Not ever." The child tilted its head, studying him. Then it whispered, "On my world, promises are sacred. Once spoken, they live forever." "You are giving me that?" The man hesitated, then nodded firmly. "Yes, you belong here, always." The child's eyes glowed faintly, as if those words sparked something deep inside. For a moment, the warehouse seemed warmer, filled with a soft light. But before the man could ask what was happening, a deep rumble shook the ground. The walls trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. The child's glow faded instantly as fear returned. The man looked toward the high windows of the warehouse, and his blood ran cold. A massive shadow covered the glass. Outside, blocking the faint light of dawn, hovered a ship larger than any building. Its underbelly glowed with red lines, pulsing like veins of fire. The child gripped his arm. "They found us again." The man stared up at the looming ship, his fear twisting into anger. The night was ending, but the hunt was far from over. The ground shook as the massive ship hovered above the warehouse. Its red lights bled through the dusty windows like fire in the sky. The man pressed his back against the cold wall, holding the child close. His heart thundered in his chest. He had seen large planes before, but this was different. This was not built to travel. This was built to hunt. The child's silver eyes widened as it stared upward. Its small body trembled. That ship. It belongs to the hunter's leader, the child whispered. If they take me there, I will vanish. My light will be stolen. The man swallowed hard. His throat was dry, his voice rough. Why? Why are they so desperate to take you? The child's gaze lowered. Its voice was soft, heavy with sorrow. Because I carry a piece of what my mother carried. Her light. The power to create, to heal. The hunters do not care about life. They only want control. With me, they could spread their machines across every world, and no one could stop them. The man closed his eyes for a moment, trying to breathe, trying to think. He was only one person, a tired man from a tired life. He had no weapons, no army, no plan. What could he do against machines that filled the sky? His mind screamed at him to let go, to leave this child, to run and hide. Survival was all he had ever known. But then he looked down at the alien sitting beside him. Its hands were small, fragile, but they gripped his sleeve with desperate trust. Its eyes, glowing faintly in the dark, looked at him with something he had not seen in years. Belief. You don't belong in my war, the child said softly, almost as if it were trying to free him. You are only human. You cannot stop them. If you walk away now, they will not follow you. They only want me. The man's chest ached. He wanted to believe those words. He wanted to believe he could still choose an easy way out. But he knew it wasn't true. Even if they spared him, he would never escape the silence that followed. He would hear the child's voice in his memory forever, lonely, pleading, asking for one day. He knelt down so his eyes were level with the child's. His voice was low, steady. You are wrong about one thing. I'm only human. But sometimes being human is enough. The child blinked, its lips trembling. You would stay? Even if it means they will destroy you too? The man nodded. I promised you one day. I will not break that promise. For a moment, silence filled the warehouse. Then the child's body began to glow faintly. A soft silver light spreading from its chest. The air around them warmed, the shadows pushed back. The man stared in awe. What's happening? He asked. The child placed a small hand over its heart. When someone speaks words that are true, when they give a promise from their soul, my light answers. The glow grew brighter, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The warehouse walls reflected the light, and for the first time in hours, the darkness seemed weaker. But outside, the hunters had seen. A deep rumble filled the air as the ship above lowered closer. Metal claws extended from its sides, crashing against the ground with a sound like thunder. The walls of the warehouse cracked as heavy machines dropped from the ship, their red eyes glowing in unison. The man stood quickly, pulling the child behind him. He had no weapon now, only his fists, only his will. But he stood tall, defiant. The hunters moved closer, their mechanical voices hissing in static. One of them raised a weapon, a sharp beam of light sparking at its tip. The man spread his arms, shielding the child. If you want them, he shouted, his voice breaking but strong, you'll have to go through me. The machines paused, scanning him. Then one of them spoke, its voice cold and distorted. Human, step aside. This is not your war. The man's jaw tightened. It is now. The child's light flared brighter, filling the entire warehouse. The hunters staggered back slightly, their sensors flickering. The man felt warmth at his back like a shield of living energy wrapping around him. The child whispered, voice trembling but strong. I called her. My mother, she will hear me now. The man turned, eyes wide. Your mother? She's alive? The child nodded, tears slipping down its glowing cheeks. If my light reaches her, she will come. But until then, they will not stop. The hunters regrouped, their claws scraping against the floor, preparing to strike again. The ship above roared louder, shaking the air. The man tightened his fists. His body trembled with fear, but he stood firm. He knew now, and there was no turning back. He had made his choice, and for the first time in years, he felt alive. The warehouse shook under the roar of the hunter's ship. Dust rained from the ceiling, cracks spread across the old walls, and the machines drew closer with their glowing red eyes. The man stood at the center, his arms spread protectively in front of the alien child. His legs trembled, his chest burned from fear, but he did not move. He would not move. The child's body glowed brighter, its silver light pushing against the shadows. The hunters hesitated, their scanners flickering as if confused. The glow rose and fell like a heartbeat, growing stronger with every pulse. "She will come," the child whispered, voice trembling but filled with faith. "I know she will come." The man tightened his fists. He wanted to believe. He wanted to believe with all his heart. But above them, the hunter's ship lowered closer, its engines screaming like thunder. A massive claw broke through the warehouse roof, tearing steel beams apart. Sparks rained down, lighting the floor. The man shielded the child, coughing through the dust. He shouted, his voice cracking. "Hurry! Call her now!" The child's glow surged, filling the air with warmth. The machines shrieked in static, their red eyes dimming as the light burned against them. The man felt the energy wrapping around him like invisible hands holding him steady. Then through the storm came a new sound, deep, low, and powerful. The hunter's ship paused as if startled. The child's glowing eyes lifted toward the clouds, and for the first time since they met, it smiled. "She's here," the child whispered. The man looked up through the torn roof. The clouds split apart, and from the darkness descended another ship. It was smaller than the hunter's vessel, but its presence was commanding. Its surface shimmered like flowing silver, alive with light. Unlike the hunter's cold machines, this ship looked alive, breathing, radiant, beautiful. The hunters roared in mechanical rage, their ship flashing red. Claws extended, weapons armed. But the silver ship moved fast, cutting through the air with blinding light. From its side, a beam struck the ground, scattering the hunters and throwing their machines back. The warehouse filled with brilliance. The man raised his arm to shield his eyes, and then she appeared. From the silver ship stepped a tall figure cloaked in light. Her skin glowed like crystal, her eyes burned like twin stars, and her voice was soft yet powerful when she spoke. "My child." The alien beside the man let out a cry, running forward with arms outstretched. The tall figure bent low, gathering the small being into her arms. The glow of their bodies merged, brighter than any light the man had ever seen. The child's voice trembled with relief. "Mother, I thought I lost you." The mother's embrace was strong, her tone soothing. "You were never lost. I searched for you across the skies, and now I have found you." The man stood frozen, overwhelmed by the sight. For a moment he forgot the hunters, forgot the danger. He only saw reunion, love unbroken by fear. But the hunters had not given up. Their machines rose again, their ship roaring with fury. Red beams struck the ground, shaking the earth. The mother turned, her glowing eyes narrowing. She raised one hand, and light burst from her palm, sweeping across the machines. They screeched as their red eyes dimmed, their metal bodies collapsing into lifeless heaps. The hunter's ship howled, pulling back toward the sky. It knew defeat when it felt power stronger than its own. With a final roar, it vanished into the clouds, leaving silence behind. The man stared at the destruction, his chest heaving. The danger was gone. But his legs trembled, and he leaned against the wall, trying to understand what he had just witnessed. The child, still in its mother's arms, turned to him. Its eyes glowed with gratitude. "You kept your promise. You gave me one day. To me, it was everything." The man shook his head slowly, his throat tight. "I didn't do much. I only stayed." The mother stepped closer, her gaze warm. "You did more than you know. Few would stand against the hunters. Fewer still would protect a child that is not their own. For that, you are not forgotten." She extended her hand. In her palm rested a small crystal, glowing softly with silver light. She placed it in the man's hand. The crystal pulsed faintly as if alive. "When the silence grows heavy, when the shadows return," she said gently, "hold this, and you will know you are not alone." The man stared at the crystal, its glow reflecting in his tired eyes. His heart ached, but it was not the same ache as before. This one was lighter, filled with something he had not felt in years: hope. The child reached out one last time, wrapping its small hand around his finger. "One day I will return, and when I do, you will not be alone." The man tried to speak, but words failed him. All he could do was nod, his eyes burning with emotion. The mother lifted her child, stepping back into the silver light of her ship. The brilliance grew brighter, wrapping around them like a shield. The ship rose, slow at first, then faster until it vanished into the clouds. The warehouse fell silent. The city outside was still asleep, unaware of what had passed in its shadows. The man stood alone in the dust and ruin, the crystal warm in his hand. He looked up at the empty sky where the ships had vanished, and for the first time in a long time he whispered to himself, "I belong."